Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Salim and I'm a senior trainer at iSchool Prep. So today's session is about how to crack GRE Quantitative Reasoning in your first attempt. I'm delighted to have you all here, and I understand that preparing for the GRE Quant is quite a challenge, right? However, with the right strategies and preparations, you can always improve your chances of success. Before we dive into specifics, let's brief the outline of what the GRE Quant section is all about. So basically, in GRE Quant, you have two subsections, and each section has 20 questions. So in all, you have 40 questions, and you'll be allotted a time of total 70 minutes to solve these 40 questions. Now, please feel free to ask your questions or doubts, whatever you have here. I hope I get to see some questions. A few things about GRE and a few things about the GRE update. I would first want to give you. And those updates are like the pattern of GRE test is soon be going to change. And they've decided it to change from 22nd of September. So this new pattern will be obviously shorter than the current GRE. So obviously you guys have, if you guys have any doubts about that new pattern, please go ahead and ask those questions. So we have a question here. I say, how much should I target to score in GRE Quant? See, in GRE, you all must be knowing there are majorly two sections. One is verbal, other is quant. And quant, I always say, is the scoring area, right? This is one area wherein you can actually score very well if you prepare in the right direction and under the right guidance. Okay. So I always say ki out of, obviously you get your marks in quant and verbal out of 170, right? So out of 170, it's pretty much possible that you can score like 160, 160 plus, which is a good score. Anything above 165 is obviously a good score, and this is pretty much possible, right? I'm being realistic here. If you prepare in right direction under the right guidance, it's very much possible to get 165 plus out of 170 in GRE Quant. Okay, so I always say because this is possible, so now this is going to help you in improving your overall score. Because in verbal, generally, what I have seen the pattern is the scores drop in verbal. Generally, this is what I have observed. So I hope I answered the question. So we have another question. Can you recommend books to study GRE Quant? Yes. There are many good books that are available in the soft copy. And one more thing that I want to highlight here is whenever you practice questions, right, use the soft copy of the books and not the hard copies, because that's how you are going to see the actual exam, right? You are going to see the questions on the screen. So you should always practice questions or by seeing them on the screen and then practice. So that will like make you and help you like cope up with the exam and solve the questions in your test in a comfortable manner. Like suppose if you practice your question by using the hard copies, and now when you are taking GRE, you have to read the question from the screen. Because you are not habitual of reading the question from the screen and solve it, you might find it a bit challenging in your test. So this is one thing. Second thing, what are the books that I can recommend? So yes, the books are a few books like Princeton. You must have heard about that. Then we have OG for GRE. Then we have Nova for GRE. So these are a few books that you can always prefer solving, and obviously they are helpful. And the questions that we get to see here, that we get to see, are pretty much same as we get in the actual GRE test. So these are a few books. And if you have any other questions, you can directly connect with me. Can you recommend books to that I have answered? What is the new GRE pattern? Right. So I would just want to just give you a comparison of the current and the new GRE pattern. So currently, I will talk about the whole pattern and not just about the quant section. I will talk about the whole GRE pattern, the test pattern that we have currently, and that is going to change. That is going to change. So the current GRE has 6 sections. The first section is AWA, and they give you 2 essays in that AWA, and for that you are given 1 hour, right? Then you have 2 verbal and 2 quant sections. So 2 verbal, 2 quant are 4 plus 1 AWA, 5 sections, right? So 2 verbal sections have 20 questions each. So in all, you are going to get 40 questions in verbal. And same, there are 2 sections in quant. So they give you 20 question each in both these sections. So you get 40 questions in quant and 40 questions in verbal. So these are 5 sections, and the 6th section is a surprise section. It could be of quant also, it could be of verbal also. So this is the current pattern. And for verbal, you get to solve those 40 questions in verbal, you get 60 minutes, and to solve those 40 questions in quant, you get 70 minutes. And that surprise section, you get 30 to 35 minutes, depending upon which section are you getting. Current GRE is they are making it shorter. So what they did is in that AWA section, now you have only 1 essay, and for that they are giving you 30 minutes. In the current GRE, they are giving you 1 hour. In the change GRE, they are going to give you 30 minutes, right? Now, you have again 2 verbal and 2 quant section, but then they have reduced the number of questions here, and they have made it 27 each. So instead of 40 questions in verbal and 40 questions in quant, now in the new GRE pattern, you are going to get 27 questions in verbal and 27 questions in quant, for which in quant, they are going to give you 47 minutes to solve those 27 questions. And for verbal, they are going to give you 41 minutes to solve those 27 questions. So I hope I told you the difference between the pattern, the current and the new pattern. Then we have a few other questions. GRE home versus GRE at center. I would recommend GRE at center, because what happens is if at home any technical issues, like if it happens, anything goes wrong, then you will be responsible for it, and you have to take the test again by registering. But if anything, any technical issue happens at the center, then obviously those center people are responsible, and then you will be allowed to take a test, if suppose a retest kind of thing, because it was the problem occurred at the end of the center people, the people who are managing the center, right? Then we have another question. Also need help with what is scoring pattern of GRE Quant. See, GRE Quant, I have already covered this point. So basically, they give you the marking pattern here is in GRE, you get the total score out of 340, right? That is combined of verbal and quant. So it's 170 for verbal and 170 for quant. So it's 170 and 170 for quant and for verbal for each one, right? And if I talk about what many students ask this, that what according to you is a good score in GRE out of 340. So it's anything above 310 is a good enough score. Anything above 320 is a very good score to obviously target some ambitious universities. So 320 plus is like if you are targeting the top notch universities, then 320 plus is what I suggest is a good score for students. Another thing that I want to tell you guys here is there is no penalty here. There's no negative marking in GRE, right? So even if you don't know the answer, you can just select one option and then move on instead of leaving that particular question. So that you can keep in your mind. Then we have another question. Then and how much time can I score? Okay, so how much preparation time do you need to score 320 plus? Is one question. So see, GRE preparation requires approximately 2 to 3 months of preparation, right? Like in this, you complete your classroom training and you complete your practice thing, right? After this, I always recommend that you should start taking mock test. So you should take at least 10 mock tests and analyze your performance, work on your weak areas, right? And obviously, you should practice the areas where you are good at, because you can do better in that, right? But work on your weak areas. Just discuss your issues with your mentors, sit with them, discuss your scores, discuss the test analysis with the mentors, and they will help you in improving in the areas that you are weak in. Okay, so that can be done, and approximately I can say 3 to 4 months time is good enough time. If you devote your time properly for the preparation, is a good enough time to score 320 plus in GRE. What is scoring pattern? This I have already answered. Then we have, is it easy to get 320 plus in GRE? I won't say it's easy, not difficult. It all depends upon your preparation. I have seen many candidates who had the caliber to score even 330, but they could not score 310. The reason is what I can tell you is lack of practice, lack of time devoted in that practice thing and taking test, right? So even if someone can, it there are chances that you might not be able to achieve that score. Reason being, you haven't devoted that amount of time. Because if you want to suppose achieve something, right, you have to actually devote your time in practice. It's not like if you are just very good with grasping things, you're very smart, you like take things, you can understand things within a second, that all is required, I understand. But apart from all that, right, understanding of the subject, understanding questions well, and understanding types well, apart from all this, the most important thing that I always tell my students is practice, practice, and practice. The more you practice, better you score. As simple as that. So practice is the key, and if you practice well in the right direction, it is not difficult to score 320 plus. If you don't practice, assuming that okay, you understand the concept well, you understand the question type well, but if you are not practicing, believe me, uh, 320 plus would be a difficult thing for you if you're not practicing in the right direction. So just remember that. So we have another question here. Can I use a calculator during? Yes, you can. So GRE provides you this on-screen calculator, and along with this, I'll give you a tip also. So they provide you on-screen calculator, and that is a simple calculator. So don't go with the feel that you are going to get a scientific calculator and you are going to do your complex calculation on that. No, you're going to just get the simple calculation wherein you can multiply, divide, so add, subtract, right? One good thing about that calculator is they are giving you brackets. So because they are giving you brackets, so you can obviously use that whole expression. You can write that whole expression there, right? Like suppose if you want to find the average of a few numbers. So on your simple calculator, how you do it is you add all the values first on the calculator, and then whatever sum you get of all those values, you divide that sum by the number of values, right? So this is how you calculate the average currently. But in this GRE calculator that they are providing you, because they are providing you brackets, so what you can do is you can keep the sum of all the numbers in those bracket, put a divide sign, and then write the number with which you need to divide this sum, and you'll get the answer directly, right? This is just an example of using the brackets. So you can use brackets very well here. So they are giving you brackets, and they are giving you the option to find the root of the numbers also. Along with that, you have three buttons, that is MR, that is memory recall, M plus, and M clear, memory clear button, memory plus. That's if you want to add something to the memory, it's M plus, and MR, that is memory recall. If you want to recall the value, these are the three buttons. Apart from that, you will also get a button. You will also get a button that says transfer display. Now, how do you use this button, transfer display button? I'll just give you an idea of this. In GRE, I'm not sure if someone has asked this question, but I would want to cover this thing also. Ki in GRE Quant section, you get to see four different types of questions, four different types. Okay. The first and the second type are multiple choice questions. Means you have a question and you have five choices along with the question. Now, what is the difference between these two multiple choice questions? The first multiple choice question has exactly one correct answer, and the second type of multiple choice questions has more than one correct answer. Okay, so these are two types of multiple choice question that you get to see in GRE. One multiple choice question wherein exactly one option is correct. The second multiple choice question in which you have more than one correct option. The third type is value entry. So there will be no options here. There's a question and there's a box below this question. So you have to enter your answer in that box. So that is value entry, right? So this, I was talking about transfer display button on your calculator. So when you calculate the value on your calculator, when you transfer display, when you press this click on this transfer display button, whatever display you have on the calculator is transferred to this box, right, which is value entry question. So you can directly transfer your answer to this box using that button on the calculator. So that button is used in that manner. And the fourth type of question that you get to see in GRE, which is the favorite of GRE people, is quantitative comparison, right? So currently, out of in both the sections, so each section has 20 questions. So out of 20, you are getting seven questions based on this type only. That is quantitative comparison. Now, what is it? I'll just give you an idea. So here you have two columns, column A and column B. Okay. And there they give you either the equation or maybe a statement. With using that, you will find the value of that column A, right? And in column B also they give you an equation, a statement, or a value directly. So now you have two quantities. That is, they call it quantity A and quantity B also, or the value of column A or value of column B. So the type is quantitative comparison. So what does that mean? It means that you have to compare the values of these two columns, right? And when you compare them, first possibility is either your value of column A is greater than column B. So if this is the case, then your answer will be A. If the value of column B is greater than column A, then in this case, your answer will be B. If the value of column A is equal to value of column B, then your answer will be C. And if you cannot determine what should be the which one is greater or smaller, right? You are not able to decide. So in that case, obviously we say that is cannot be determined, and in that case, your answer should be D. So that is there. So these are the four types. Then we have a few more questions. So can I use calculator? I've covered that. How much should I target to score in GRE Quant? So I have covered this, but then as I told you, you should always target 320 plus, okay? And you should prepare accordingly. So even if you come down, you should be like somewhere, you should stay somewhere between 310 to 315, which is also a good enough score to get into a good university. So that is there. And I'm waiting for questions now. I guess I've answered all the questions. Just have a look at them. Okay, so whatever questions I got, I have answered those questions. If someone has any other question, I would love to answer that about GRE Quant. Okay, one more thing that I would want to tell you guys here is in GRE you have sectional adaptive thing, right? Now many people don't know that what is sectional adaptive and how does it work. So I'll tell you. See, what does sectional adaptive means is the ATS who designed GRE, they have designed it in such a manner that your performance in the first verbal or in your first quant section, right? Whatever your performance is, like uh, whenever you get your first quant section, okay. So now the level of difficulty of this section is they keep it moderate, okay. They keep it moderate, and depending upon your performance, like how you perform here, depending upon that performance, they decide the system, obviously the test or the software that decides the difficulty level of your second quant or your second verbal section, right? This goes same for verbal and quant both. So based on your performance in your first verbal or first quant section, the difficulty level of your second quant or second verbal section is being decided, right? So if you perform well, expect the next section to be more difficult than this one. And if your performance was not too good in this section, in the first one, then the difficulty level of the second verbal or second quant section will be lower than the difficulty level of this one. So this is one more thing that you should always keep in your mind. And also time management is one important issue that many people don't focus. Many of us think that 5-10 seconds is not a very big time, right? So here in GRE it's really important to it's really important to say कि if you suppose save even 10 seconds, even 10 seconds, right? So out of those 20 questions, if you save 10 seconds in 18 questions, right, that becomes 180 seconds. 180 seconds is equivalent to 3 minutes. And in 3 minutes, believe me, you can solve two questions. So if you are wasting 10 seconds in all the questions, then there are chances that you might miss out last 2-3 questions because you haven't saved enough time to actually solve those questions. So please work on this also, right? Do not waste even a second, even a second. Like if suppose you have to decide, and by practicing you will be able to differentiate this key where to use the calculator and where not to use the calculator, where you should go with oral calculation. So I always say that key improve your oral calculations also, right? Like we all know 2 plus 3, no one is going to use a calculator to add 2 and 3, it's 5, right? Similarly, if I say 15 and 17, so if you need to add 15, 17, it should be 32 quickly without even writing it on the calculator. So these calculations you should improve, like oral addition, subtraction. These basic calculations you should do orally because they save time. Everything that every calculation that you do on the calculator is not going to save your time. Remember that. So this difference you need to learn, and you can learn this only by practicing and obviously by doing calculations as much as possible so that you can make the difference key. Just by looking at the figure you will know key, okay, so this figure I can do this orally faster, so I'm not going to use the calculator, and you decide it within a fraction of second. So this is very important. So subsections mein, as I have initially just briefed this, कि you have two sections in quant. Each section is of 20 questions, and to solve each question, you are getting 35 minutes each. In the new GRE pattern, you again have two sections. The first section will have 12 questions, and the second section will have 15 questions, and total time that they are going to give you is 47 minutes to solve these 27 questions. So I guess I have answered all the questions here, and Okay, so this is where I would want to end this session. So I would first want to thank you all for joining us. We hope we have addressed all your concerns. Please don't forget to subscribe our channel and for these kind of informative videos that are specifically made for you for GRE, GMAT, SAT, TOEFL, and IELTS test. Additionally, please mark your calendars and register for our free masterclass that is tomorrow. That is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Okay, please block your calendars for tomorrow at 7 p.m. We have a masterclass, and we'll be discussing strategies to achieve 8 plus band in IELTS test. Okay, so looking forward to seeing you there. You may find the registration link in the comment section for our free session that is going to held tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thank you very much. Thank you all.